everyone! Today I'm here with my October wrap-up. I only finished 4 books in the month of October. That's mostly because I found a new job. And reading is something that I don't do as much now as since I have a full-time job, so I don't really have much time, and sometimes it's just I have a new thing, so I concentrate on different things now, and reading is not the main thing for me. I started a hell of a lot of books in the month of October and September, and I still haven't finished them. And now I'm going to talk about 4 books that I have finished in the month of October. Number 1 is A Spool of Blue Thread by Anne Tyler, and this book is basically about just 3 generations of the same family and just snippets of their lives. That's basically the plot. Honestly, there's not like a strict plot, it's rather some kind of really snippets from their lives, and that's it. Sometimes it would feel out of place. The order would be a bit weird. Something would be happening at the moment, something would be happening in the past, and something would be happening in someone else's life in the past or in the present. So I didn't quite understand why they were in that order. It felt a bit weird to me, even though what I found interesting is that sometimes it would be reading like present time, and then at some point we would be reading about a specific character in the past, so then we would know what will happen in the future. I found that interesting, but apart from that, I don't quite understand why the order was put like that. What was the main thing about it? I didn't get it. The thing that I liked about this book is that I didn't have any troubles going into the story. It started very smoothly. There weren't a bunch of characters that we were introduced to with their, appearances and stuff like that. It just started almost with a conversation, I believe, or something. So it was very, very easy to get into this book, because sometimes I seem to struggle to start a new book and then just to try and be immersed into it, because I need some time to imagine everything, to just, get some time to get into the story. Sometimes I find interesting the books that just let us through someone else's life, and we see their choices, the things that they do, the things that they choose to do, some mistakes that they do. I don't know why, but it really is interesting to me. So that's one of the things that I liked about this book. In the end though, I gave this book 3 stars because there was nothing special, nothing very outstanding, and it didn't have a strict plot or anything, so I just read it like someone's life, and that's it. I didn't understand, to be honest, the purpose of the book, and it won an award, but I don't really get why. It was just average to me. I don't know. The second book that I finished was The Magician by Somerset Maugham. I was listening to it as an audiobook, to be honest. It's just basically about these 2 people who are engaged and everyone approves of their marriage and stuff, but then there's the mysterious magician appears and things change. At the beginning of the book, until about halfway through, I wasn't really paying attention too much, to be honest, to this book, because it didn't grab me as much, and it wasn't interesting enough for me to keep listening to it, so I would just be thinking about different things when I was listening to that audiobook. So I'm not sure what happened in the beginning, but at some point, about maybe halfway through, I started being immersed in the story because something happened, and I think that for me, that didn't change anything, that I missed the whole half of the book, because the things only started moving after the second half of the book, which I found weird. And the bits that I read, the bits that I listened to after the half of the book were much more interesting, and I was listening to it with kind of interest, but in the end I gave this book 3 stars because, again, it is nothing really special. Book number 3 that I finished was Tinder by Sally Gardner. I read it from the library, and this was a retelling of the Tinder box by Hans Christian Andersen, I believe. I didn't know that before going into the book. I only knew that after finishing the book, and I was wondering why it felt like it was just a dark fairy tale type thing. Now I do get that, and it has a lot of illustrations. It had illustrations almost in every single page. I loved it because I think those illustrations just added so much more to the story. It is a very, very atmospheric book. It is very Halloweeny type book. I even included it in my Halloween recommendation video. It was very, very dark, but not creepy, but not really creepy, although at some point I was a bit creeped out when I was reading it in the evening by myself in the dark. It was a bit kind of not scary, but just a little bit creepy, but I liked it a lot. This book was set in the 17th century and mostly it took place in the forest when it was raining, so that was very, very atmospheric, and I really, really liked the setting of the book and how everything was going. I was really, really immersed in the story, and I felt like I was almost bewitched from time to time whilst reading the book. I didn't tell you what this book is about, but I'm just going to read it to you because it's a bit difficult to describe. Otto Hundebis is tired of war, but when he defies death, he walks a dangerous path. A half-beast, half-man gives him shoes and dice which will lead him deep into a web of dark magic and mystery. He meets the beautiful Sapphire, pure of heart and spirit, the scheming Mistress Jabber, and the terrifying Lady of the Nail. He learns the powers of the tinderbox and the wolves whose master he becomes. But will all the riches in the world bring him the thing he most desires? That was a very interesting experience. I absolutely love books with pictures in them, especially if they're very, very atmospheric. And in the end, I give this book 3.5 stars. And the last book that I managed to finish in the month of October was another audiobook, which was The Hound of the Baskervilles by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. It was a reread for me. I read it a couple of years ago for the first time, and it is my favorite Sherlock Holmes novel, or Sherlock Holmes story in general, because it is the most kind of gothic one, the most mysterious one, the most interesting one. So in this story there's basically a legend surrounding the Baskervilles house, that there is a huge hound which is like a curse to the very first Baskerville because he did something bad and he was murdered by this hound. And then now they found a body of another Baskerville who is dead, and next to him they found footprints of a huge hound. And now there's another heir of the Baskervilles, and he is now afraid that he will meet the same fate. And now obviously Dr. Watson and Sherlock Holmes are trying to solve the case. It is set in the house in the moors, and I loved it so much. Even listening to it the second time around, I enjoyed it almost as much as the first time around. But I think it didn't quite work for me as an audiobook as much. I still preferred it when I was reading it because it's just, I don't know, it is very atmospheric again and kind of Halloween-y type thing as well. It's not really creepy, although there were a couple of scenes though that creeped me out, to be honest, especially when I was reading them the first time a couple of years ago. But it is an absolutely wonderful, interesting book, and definitely unpredictable. One of my favorite books of all time, definitely. And I give this book 5 stars. I'm not going to tell you what books I'm currently reading, because I'm going to mention them in my November TBR, because I do have November TBR this month, because there are quite a few books that I'm in the middle of and still plan to read some more, even though that might be a little bit too ambitious. But anyway, please let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of the books that I mentioned, or what was your favourite book of the month of October. I would love to know that. But for now, thank you for watching. Bye!